Hi guys, welcome to a new episode of COVID Kitchen. This week, this Monday, I am making some beef and mushroom ragu. So let's see what I've got here. Beef. That is a chuck roast that I have cut up into pieces and salted and peppered. It's been sitting in that salt and pepper for a day now, so that's should make it nice and beefy and flavorful. Speaking of beef, this here is not sour cream, it is homemade beef broth, made with bones from this same cow, I think. Regardless, it's really delicious. And these are mushrooms, wild dehydrated mushrooms, sitting in the rest of the beef broth that I'm going to go put in the microwave to rehydrate those. These are onions. Well, onion, say 3/4 of an onion. It was my last one, so I didn't use the whole thing. I don't know, a little more than half of an onion, but that's an onion. That's 3 cloves of garlic that I smashed up. That is some 5 spice powder, although it's supposed to be mostly fennel seed, which I haven't got. So there's a lot of star anise, some caraway, some cardamom, very little cinnamon. So it's, I don't know, smells good, should be tasty, and that is always obviously tomato paste. And speaking of tomatoes, once again, tomatoes, grown them out Vesuvius. That's here draining, and I'm going to chop those things into bits. And this here is one bay leaf and some bits of a Parmesan rind. So why is that? Well, Parmesan rind is fantastic for increasing the umami in your stews. This isn't exactly a stew, although it really kind of is. I mean, this chuck roast here is going to cook for quite a long time to, make it tender and tasty. So in the course of doing that, the rind from the Parmesan can impart some really delicious flavor. So I save those things. I'm done grinding off the Parmesan part of the Parmesan, I don't know, the edible part, and then I use those things in stews. So that's what I'm doing with that. So I'm going to put those mushrooms in the beef stock in the microwave, and I'm going to start heating up some oil and start browning that beef, and I'll see you guys in a sec. Okay, we're back. This oil is hot, as you can probably tell, because it's about starting to smoke. I'm going to put this beef in there. I don't think I can get it all in one batch because you want it to be separated enough so it doesn't steam, so that it sears, because we're trying to brown this. So I'm going to do that thing right now, and I'll be back with you guys in a second. Okay, as you can tell, that is in the Dutch oven, and that is browning. So, in just a little bit, about another couple of seconds, I'm going to keep this over to the other side, and brown the other side too. There you go, if you want to see, golden brown and delicious right there. Okay, excellent. Okay, so, okay, let me take this out now. You see that golden brown color right there? If you could smell it, it'd be even better. But that is the Maillard reaction, where the proteins denature, and I guess there's also a little caramelization there. There's got to be some carbohydrate in this beef. At any rate, what you do is you get proteins to denature and form lots of other compounds, hundreds and hundreds of other compounds, and that means flavor. So the rest of this is going in there. I'm going to put a little bit more fat in, and then, see you in a second. Okay, all that meat has been seared and is looking fantastic. So I put another tablespoon and a half, 2 tablespoons of oil in here, and I'm about to add these onions. Now, you'll notice I turn the heat off because this is, once again, an electric stove top where it changes the heat, and I want the onions to not immediately just charcoalize. What I'd like them to do is release some moisture, so until there's brown bits stuck to the bottom right there, that is called fond, and fond is delicious. So what I want these onions to do is release some moisture, and then I can scrape the fond off the bottom of this pot, incorporate it into what will be this ragu. And once that happens a little bit, I will turn the heat back up, and we'll let these things caramelize down for a while. I might deglaze them once, not sure. Probably will. I can do that. Eventually, I'll add the garlic, and then add the spice powder and the tomato paste. Eventually, these tomatoes, which I'm going to need to chop up, and then and the mushrooms and the beef, and then put it in the oven, which is over there. So I'll see you guys in, well, time a couple of minutes at least. All right, welcome back. I have deglazed this once. Looking golden brown and, you know, delicious. I clear a little space here in the middle to put in the garlic, which means I need to find a way to hold this thing without my hand. Okay, there we go. Garlic added after I, figured that I couldn't hold this tripod with my hand. Well, no, I can't hold it with my hand. I can't hold it with no hands because that's not holding, that's just dropping. At any rate, some more garlic cooking. Stir that in there for a little bit. You'll see that I immediately stuck to the bottom of that right there because garlic will burn given a second's chance. Not burning yet. At least it doesn't smell like it's burning yet. Okay, here comes the tomato paste and spice rub, which is probably going to involve me putting this camera down. And tomato paste and spice powder, rubbing that around in here. Look how dark that pond is getting, really dark. All these recipes call us for doing this for like a really long time, but look how dark that pond is getting. So it's going to be burned in just a second. So I'm going to take this red wine and pour it in there and deglaze that pan. Well, that's not just going to deglaze the pan. I need some red wine for cooking this for this dish. But you notice how all that came right up, which means didn't completely burn, which is delightful because you don't want to over caramelize stuff because that makes it taste, bad. At any rate, I'm going to cook this down for a little bit. Probably put some more of that wine in. And then these tomatoes and these mushrooms and the liquid they soaked in, notice they're all chopped up fine. And this, which is not sour cream, if you'll remember that is beef broth, will go into that sucker with that beef. And then eventually go into that oven. Oh, and of course, the Parmesan rinds and bay leaf. So, anyway, we'll see you guys in a sec. Okay, we are back. That is what tomato paste reduced in red wine on top of some garlic and some onions looks like. So I have thought, well, you were not with me, and that is that these tomatoes have chemicals in them that do not really activate as flavor compounds unless they're enhanced by alcohol. Therefore, I'm going to put these tomatoes in that pot. Then I'm going to add some more alcohol, and then I'm going to add the rest of the mushrooms and beef broth and move on from there. So I'm going to mount this thing over here if I can, which I can. Yay! All right. I can do things with two hands. So there's some tomatoes and juice from those tomatoes. Keep in mind, this all came from Italy. So that is a luxury item if I've ever heard of one. The French have a saying, which is in French because, they're French, that's what they speak. But it's something about a petite luxury, a small luxury, which I could say if I was Rick Steves or some other person who could speak more than one language. I can speak German. I can help with the French discussion. At any rate, these tomatoes are a petite luxury that I really enjoy. This wine is, hell, I guess it's also a luxury. If you think about it, the fact that I have somebody who's made grapes into alcohol for me, it's got to be a luxury, right? Anyway, I'm going to let this cook a little bit, just to let that alcohol make the tomatoes more flavorful. Then I'm going to add the mushrooms and the Parmesan and the bay leaf and the meat. And I'm going to stick it in the oven, and I'll bring it back for that step. Okay, that is the combination of mushrooms and beef broth and everything that was in it before, simmering away nicely. This is beef. It's going to go in there, and then it's going to go in the oven. So do that thing because, that's how cooking shows do it. And I'm going to add all the juices collected in this dish, which should be, super delicious. Chuck roasts are probably my favorite cut of meat, I gotta say, because they're super beefy and just incredibly tasty. Now they're tough, so you got to cook them for a long time. This is going to cook for a couple of hours, and they require a lot of breakdown. There's a lot of bones you got to cut around, a lot of gristle and stuff you got to cut through. But once you get through all that, man, you're left with his deliciousness. So this thing is going to get covered up, and then it's going to go in that oven, and it's going to sit there. I don't know if you can see me, but for at least a couple of hours. So we'll see you guys in a while. Well, there you go. This has been cooking for almost 3 hours, and I'm going to let it rest for a little bit so it's not so searingly hot. Then shred that meat and put that back in there and let it sit until tomorrow, when I will make some pasta or some polenta to put it on and have some completed dinner.